I'm still that kid who wants to win. I'm still that kid who will literally do anything to win. I'll probably bite your ear off if I have to. So I'm probably one of the only athletes that calls out the cheats. I mean, there's a handful of athletes in the world who have got a backbone. If you love something and you've got a passion for it, you need to cling on to that, because as soon as you lose that and you lose that youth inside of you, it becomes a chore.
Hi, and welcome back to the Jacuzzi Performance Podcast. I'm Ed Baxter, and today we're joined by Commonwealth, European, World and Olympic champion, Adam Peaty. How you doing, Adam?
Thanks for having me.
That's right. I guess a little bit of context to this podcast. It might be a little bit more personal than the other podcasts in this season. I've known Adam for a long time now, going on about 5 or 6 years. We used to train together and also now business partners. So if this is a little bit more personal than some of the other guests we have on the podcast, then that's why. I guess the best way to kick this off, Adam, is, we don't want to focus too much around COVID, as we're coming out of lockdowns and things like that. But, can you just kind of sum up for us, personally, as an athlete, and then, as a new father, how's the last year or so been for you?
I think you've worded it perfectly, because I've seen COVID in different challenges and different forms. As an athlete, obviously, it's been very difficult with no racing, no competition, no training camps abroad. That's my fuel. It keeps the motivation going, keeps the momentum going throughout the season. But as a person, it's been the most difficult, not having that friends, having the disruption of the family, obviously moving house before trials, trying to do everything for Olympics as best as I can, and preparation best as I can as Olympics, and then throw in, being a new dad as well. You literally got a cocktail that is high stress, high, a lot of stuff going on. But I mean, it's been, on a personal level, it's been very, very difficult. I'm not here to say, it's been easy, let's all get it done. It's been one of the most challenging times of my life. But I think with that, if you can get to the other side, it'll also be the most rewarding, knowing that you've gone through the hard times, you've gone through the kind of trials and tribulations of, this challenge that has been set upon us.
Yeah, definitely. We'll touch a little bit more around, the disruption around Olympics and training, stuff like that in a little bit. But you're just home from the European Championships. You've just won your 16th consecutive European title. How are you feeling after that?
Yeah, good. Yeah, good. It's obviously 16 gold medals that, I've built throughout my career, and I intend to go back and defend them next year. So being consecutive champion in anything is hard, but doing it 4 times, obviously you need to rely on a very good team as well. Yeah. So I've got an amazing team behind me. I've got amazing teammates, and as that team's developing, we're getting more mature, having more knowledge, and it's just fun. It's Europeans for me. I always thought it was going to be a bigger challenge than it was this year, because people are racing fast all year round now, because of ISL and various other reasons. But for me, all I needed to do there was, go out there, race as well as I can, under a bit of fatigue, and then, we're going to obviously propel ourselves onto the Olympics now. So I'm excited knowing that the preparation is done, and that's the most exciting thing you can have, nail the process. And I know once I put a GB flag on me and put the 5 rings on there, that's just, that's me, innit? That's me.
So I guess that's kind of from the accolade point of view, but from a kind of personal performance and where you are in your journey, I guess, towards Tokyo into the postponed Olympics, are you happy where, performance, time-wise, are you happy with where you're at right now?
Yeah. I mean, I don't think I'm never happy because I want a perfect race, but a perfect race does not exist. So I think, it depends on if you look at the front end or you look at the back end or you look at the middle of the race. There's so many different variables in racing, but I'm just happy with how the stroke is feeling. And especially the front end. I've never been out in it as fast as I did at Europeans under that kind of work. So there's a lot to be hopeful for, and there's a lot of... I'm more excited now for life, and that's, for me, is a lot. That just gives me so much more than just turning up to the pool, having to do something. Yeah. The sun's coming out, we're enjoying summer now, finally, and things are just looking and feeling good. Yeah. And I know once I look, feel good, and I'm a happy athlete, I'm a fast athlete, and I have that bit of a strut against me. So, yeah, I mean, you can overanalyze, you can get all the data, you can do all that, but that isn't my job. My job is to understand the data from the team, so let them digest it. What do I need to do? What do I need to work on? Done. Cheers.
So I guess, knowing you from a personal perspective, that competition and that kind of, when you get in that arena, that's when you really come alive. So that European Championships is the first time you've had that, major championship feel in almost 2 years now. So did you kind of feel starved from that? What kind of keeps you going for sport?
I feel I've been felt starved from competition ever since we had to stop early in 2020. But I think, getting to the Europeans, it did feel good, but we've still got no crowds. So I'm still starved for that roar that kind of lights up the arena. Because you do get out and it's literally the ground shakes. It's that loud. And if you've got the acoustics right in the stadium and stuff, it just sounds incredible. And breaststroke's funny enough because you go down and it goes silent and you bring your head up and you can hear the roar of the crowd. And I think that's just, I'm still waiting for that moment. But, I've learned and I've became an adaptable athlete. So I adapt to what I need to adapt to. If I race with no crowd, I can race with no crowd. If I race with a crowd, then I can do that too. I think a lot of athletes are swimming fast now because there is no crowd. Yeah. So they don't have to practice their arena skills. But as soon as you put that crowd back in and that nerve, you'll see them fold because a lot of athletes can't manage that. And you need to have the full mindset to manage the whole picture.
So do you think where you've seen a lot of athletes swim faster than usual, early season or, leading up to an Olympics, do you think that might completely change it? If there are crowds at Tokyo, do you think that will change when the pressure really comes on them?
Potentially. I think Olympics changes a lot of athletes anyway. For me, I've always come stronger in the Olympics. I know exactly what I'm racing for and why I'm doing it. I think a lot of athletes who will go there with a lot of nerves, maybe a little bit of doubts, it'll be the strongest athletes and the ones who deserve it that'll come out successful. I haven't got a crystal ball. I haven't got a shoulda, woulda, coulda ball. I don't know what's going to happen with the world. No one knows what's going to happen. But for me, all I know is I get more confident the more people that are there. But even if there's no people there, I can still perform. I've proven that at ISL when I'm not a short course swimmer, but I still broke the world record. Yeah. So that gave me confidence knowing that it doesn't matter what shape I'm in, all I need is 2 weeks and I can perform anywhere, anytime. Yeah,
and the way you're talking about this, it really sounds very different, I guess, to the way this conversation would have gone, maybe 5 years ago. And as you get more older, more experienced in this sport, is it very odd for you to kind of be, I guess, the veteran of the GB swimming team now compared to, not the young guy coming onto the scene?
I think, it's obviously different because I'm more mature, more calculated. And obviously that part of my brain where I was kind of a young gun who, didn't really care about the risk. I'm definitely more calculated because I have to be because I'm a dad now. So my energy is more valuable, my time is more valuable. And as an athlete, as you get older and you become more successful, obviously the other things that you used to worry about, such as money or such as deals or such as all that stuff, you don't have to worry about that because you've got such a great team around you. But you've still got to worry about your time and your energy. I think every person on earth has, but that is the most valuable thing to me now, especially, seeing George grow up as fast as he is. So being a mature athlete, I don't think much has changed in terms of my personality. I'm still that kid who wants to get in that race suit. I'm still that kid who wants to win. I'm still that kid who will literally do anything to win. I'll probably bite your ear off if I have to. So, but that's the guy you have to be. That is the guy you have to be in an Olympic final. You have to be willing to almost die for that because the next guy is going to probably be willing to do that as well.
Yeah, and this is really consistent. Every time we talk, last time when we were in the Jacuzzi swim spa talking about, that's exactly the same what you're saying, just about the kid almost just inside you that just wants to win more than anyone else. It's just as you go through the career, it just still feels like that.
Yeah, and I think you should never ever lose why you started something. If you love something and you've got a passion for it, you need to cling on to that, because as soon as you lose that and you lose that youth inside of you, it becomes a chore. So there's been numerous times where I've lost that in swimming. I'm like, why am I doing this? This is painful. This is hard. And have to really completely relax and figure out a way around it. And instead of something that should be passive, something I should be enjoying. Yeah. And as soon as I found that again, I'm like, okay, this is easy again. I don't care what hard sets or how hard or how intimidating the set might be, because I'm enjoying it. I want to do it. So I think if anything becomes monotonous or tedious, you have to question and really reflect on why have I been doing this for the last 10 years of my life. Because if it's something you hate, if it's a temporary thing, of course, we all hate our jobs sometimes. That's just natural. If you're doing something for 40 hours a week, 50 hours a week, of course you're going to hate it a lot of the time. But it's when you're hating it for weeks or months, maybe years, unfortunately, for some people, you need to start asking yourself, why? Why did I do this? Why did I start this? And sometimes you need a deeper reason.
Yeah, definitely. So if we kind of go back to European Championships, you were the young guy coming onto the scene and you've really made your mark. And as we said there, you're going into one of the veterans of GB swimming, as the whole team has started to really perform and, you know, across all strokes, you know, male, female, everyone's kind of firing. Do you feel a little bit like you started that wave, I guess?
I don't obviously want to take credit for anything, but I think if you're successful, you almost pave the way again for the people in that team. It's like any team, you know, it's momentum. You know, it's called momentum for a reason. So if you're, you know, it doesn't matter if you're a Premier League team or, you know, you do another sport or whatever, if you've got momentum and you continue winning, other people are going to be inspired. And if you can show the youth and show the young people who are on the team that you'd be fearless and you use your process, use your brain, but also use your heart and, you know, carry that flag with pride, I think, you know, you've got a very, very unique but strong team. But I really do think it's down to the leadership under British Women. We've got some great coaches, we've got some great people, and, you know, we've got a great performance director, we've got great head coach and people who lead British Women, but also, you know, we've got the relaxation that comes with that. I think previously in the past, a lot of teams have been very serious, like, you need to do this or you get that, or you need to do that, you get a fine, or you need to say this in the media or do that. I'll say what I want in the media, it's me. Whereas before, I was a little bit intimidated by that. So you've really got to, you know, kind of question, you know, who am I? What do I represent in a team? Am I relaxed? And if you can, you know, stay relaxed in the team, it doesn't matter where you are, you'll enjoy it.
Yeah.
And sometimes I've felt very anxious because I've been worrying about to the future too much. Whereas now I just live in the present. I couldn't care what's going to happen tomorrow because that isn't the present. Yeah. And I think if you can live like that, and it's not recklessness, it's having the preparation for, say, the Olympics, when you know it's going to be an Olympic final. A lot of people will be like overthinking that and thinking, oh, the future, or I need to do this, or this has gone wrong in the past. I'm like, you know what? I'm going to get behind those black blocks and just stump my chest, cheers. That is me. That is me and my flow.
So kind of moving on from that, as you just mentioned there, when you get to the Olympic Games, you know, this has been a preparation, well, now 5 years, but for 4 years, you know, you've been really precisely preparing year after year on how you get to that perfect performance in Tokyo. How has that been to completely have to adapt to, you know, you thought you were going to be there, and then a couple of months out, we've got another year and a few months to add on to it. How's that precise preparation been changed?
I think you have a lot of trust in your team. I think, obviously, Mel is a key to my success, you know, if not the whole key. I think I've been with her now for 13 years, and obviously when that was announced, I was like, oh, that's it, really? Just, I knew as soon as we went into lockdown, there wasn't going to be an Olympics. In the back of my mind, so I was like, I'm going to enjoy this moment, enjoy Ari's pregnancy with George, enjoy that moment together, because, you know, she got pregnant 2 months in with George, and I was like, you know what, we'll get to know each other and use this time to our advantage. I know I probably drank more than I should, but, you know, it kept me sane and kept me normal. You know, I'm not an indestructible athlete who doesn't have feelings. You know, you've seen firsthand as one of my best mates how demanding a sport can be on someone. So I think, you know, it was good that we had that chance and that opportunity to do that. But yeah, I was kind of annoyed that obviously it had been delayed, but we'll know in a few months' time if, you know, I'll go faster or whatever happens, I can, you know, rest assured, giving my full effort anyway. So,
yeah, for sure.
Again, if you live in that present, you don't get lost in what should have been or what could have been, because it almost like it never even happened, or it didn't happen anyway. So why are you even worrying about it?
Yeah, I'm going to touch a little bit around that performance and the kind of detriment that can have sometimes, but you know, for me, and I guess as an outsider, some people who are, you know, looking at the Olympic Games, has been, you know, the first time in my memory, a Games that's surrounded sometimes a little bit of controversy. I think the Olympics is often, you know, it's so wonderful and it's what we all look forward to. But, you know, in the European Championships, for example, you tweeted about, you know, do we need a VAR in the 50 breaststroke? So there's kind of some controversy over the last year, especially with, you know, the technical aspects of swimming. So can you kind of go tell us a little bit about that?
You know, I like this question because I'm probably one of the only athletes that calls out the cheats. I mean, there's a handful of athletes in the world who have got a backbone. So I think if you can call out the cheats in the sport, you're protecting your own sport. Why would you work for something endlessly, tirelessly, 365, 24/7 for 10 years to not call it out if someone's cheating their way forward? You wouldn't do it in any other job. You wouldn't cheat your way to an interview for any other job. So why would you put up with it if you're part of that system? So for me, it's just being personal. It's being a decent person, sticking up for those people who are losing to these cheats. Whether it's mechanical, technical, you know, obviously steroids and stuff, doping. I think that you need to call that out. And obviously breaststroke, on a 50 breaststroke, you'll see people fly kicking. You see it every single championships. Some of them get away with it, some of them don't. But hopefully the Olympics, that they're aware of this now. It's an issue in swimming that people are using cheating to their advantage, knowing that they won't get called out for it.
Yeah.
But to be fair, honest, I don't get caught up in that. When I'm in the championships, I'm in the championships for my own performance. I'm hoping that the judges and the referees can do their job. That they are meant to call out that kind of stuff. So yeah, I mean, unfortunately, sport is political, isn't it? So it's not as simple as that. Because you will get backlash from that, and that.
And you mentioned there about doping. So there's been a lot mentioned around podium protests, and we saw it at the World Championships in 2019. One of the GB swimmers, Duncan, and a couple of the other guys wouldn't stand on the podium with people who had positive doping tests. So this is there's big controversy around this at the Olympics. Will athletes be allowed to protest on a podium? So can you kind of give us your view on that?
I think I've spoken about this quite publicly. I think there's obviously a time and a place for a protest. Don't get me wrong, but there's also the thing that I'm a privileged white male who is live in Great Britain. So really, yes, we have our issues in this country, and yes, I have my own issues, but I'm not facing some of the issues that some of the athletes are facing around the world. So a podium or a protest, or the right to protest, is an opportunity for some of those athletes to speak out against horrible things, racism, inequality, genocide in some cases, whatever it's going to be. So you should never take away that opportunity for those athletes to speak out about something, because that's their only platform to be heard.
Yeah.
But also on the flip side of that you're there to witness sport, you're there to witness performance. So you don't want to overshadow someone who's worked their whole life, who's got gold medal, and someone who's in bronze protesting, because they're going to get all the attention, which really should be attention for the whole of the medalists, if not all the finalists. So there's a flip side of everything, and unfortunately there's not a simple answer to they should do this or they should do that. But I don't think the IOC should be saying you can't protest, because that's just going to make people want to protest more.
I think it's hard, isn't it, when a governing body or an organisation who's running a big competition, try and control athletes. I think that's what athletes hate the most. The athletes are the ones that give the performance and give the show to the viewers, the people who are in the stands and stuff like that, and they're the ones that make the IOC and these organisations look so good. And I think as an organisation, if you try and take that away from athletes, I think that's kind of makes athletes feel worthless almost.
Yeah, and I think athletes are some of the most strong-hearted people, because that's the way we're wired. If we're going to do something, we're going to do it right. But I've been vocal ever since I started swimming. This isn't right, or that isn't right. Why have they done that? And why has this decision been made, for example? But I think in anything, if we're becoming a world now where we're not afraid to speak up. I think in the past, there has been lots of issues where people are afraid to speak up, especially if you're an athlete, because is that repercussions in terms of sponsors who will pull out if you say something wrong. But I think if you can have the right sponsors, and hopefully if you do have the right sponsors, they'll support you no matter what.
Yeah.
And hopefully it's not something that's outrageous, but for me, I only say something if something's wrong. I only call out wrong stuff. It's not like I'm wagging my finger everywhere that needs to be done, needs to be done. I think back to the original question, you shouldn't ever because it always backfires. Yeah. Look at FINA when they were threatening anyone that did ISL would not be able to do world short course or something like that. I'm like, you know what I mean? It's not 1980 anymore. You can't do that.
I think it's hard as well, isn't it? When without athletes, these organisations are nothing. So how can you?
I mean, I missed that point, but I think if you look at it in simple terms, sport is entertainment, and the athletes are the entertainers. Exactly. They're the revenue people. They bring in the money, they bring in the sponsors, they bring in the TV. So if you treat them right, they will treat you right as an organisation. And sometimes, that balance, a lot of the time that balance is few and far between. And if you look at, I think it's the NBA that has a 51% revenue split.
Sure.
So whatever the NBA brings in, it's shared among the athletes, which is what ISL's trying to do. And hopefully it works out in a few years' time. Or it's basically giving the athletes what they're due. And I think that's only a fair thing. If you're going to make 100 million off something, and you're only giving 5 million to the athletes. I'm like, hold on a minute. 5%, you would not take that in any other job.
I think that's the thing, you know, when we always talk about athletes and what they deserve, you know, I think people see it as, well, they've just done one swim, why should they get that kind of money? But I think people forget, you know, it's 5, 10, 15, often sometimes 20 years of work to get that one performance that warrants, you know, that warrants a reward of all that hard work.
Yeah, and I think, it's like anything, isn't it? Like, if you're going for a CEO job, you've probably been on that job for 20 years or experience. So that's how you got to treat sport. If you look at it, I think in a business aspect, yes, you get that one opportunity at Olympics every 4 years, or a few opportunities at Olympics to show your profile and, you know, be out there. And if you're lucky enough, not lucky enough, but hard working enough or talented enough to do that every championship between that, then you're building your profile even more. But something's got to change in sport in the next 10 years. Something drastic, especially at the Olympic level, I think, because these professional leagues are coming. You're seeing it in every single sport now. I think, especially in swimming and, you know, athletics. The athletics got Diamond League. Hopefully ISL is equal, if not, you know, greater than that. But if you look at a sport in a simple aspect of, there's only a certain amount of TV time and there's only a certain amount of things people can watch, and we're getting shoved sport from all different leagues and all different things down our throats. So I'm like, how's the Olympics going to stay current? How's it going to keep the heritage? How's it going to evolve around the dopamine rush of younger kids who are looking at TikTok and only want 10 seconds of laughter? How do you do that for a 1500 metre freestyle? Do you know, it's not, you know, it has to continually evolve. It's not like it was meant to be in 1904 or 1900. You know, sport and the world is changing faster than ever. So if we took, you know, how you see the Olympic Games going, you know, if we hope that this kind of stays, you know, the royalty of sport, I guess, the Olympic Games, how many more games do you think you've got in you? God knows. For God. It depends how many opportunities I have outside of the sport. If someone came along and gave me a very good opportunity to inspire and give back and potentially give me a passion or give that opportunity for me to have a passion in something, you know, maybe in 4 years or 8 years, I'd take it. You know, I'd probably do a hard review after Paris. I'd always say that I'd try and go to, you know, LA 2028. But it really comes down to your supporters and your sponsors, because they make it happen. You know, no athlete can make it without I mean, they can make it, but they can't. At the same time, it's very hard to make it at the top and stay there without, you know, financial support or the right sponsors or, you know, the right management. And honestly, I haven't got a crystal ball. But I've always said there's only one rule with me is if I'm not having fun with it, I'm done with it. Like Drake said, you know, it's that's simple. Yeah.
So you've talked about there, you know, potentially, you know, obviously the Tokyo Games, you know, Paris, that's another 2 more, and then potentially a third more games. Do you think in your main event, 100 metre breaststroke, do you think you can ever be beaten?
Yeah. I mean, probably not, I don't think. I can't see that, because in my head it doesn't calculate. Why would I train every single day to think that I could come second or lose? You've got to think every single day, I'm going to win, I'm going to win, I'm going to win. This is going to put me on the performance. And the way the mindset works for me is, it's not necessarily I'm going to win, it has to be I'm going to dominate. So if you'll dominate consecutively for years and years and years and years, you've got the heritage, you've got the history, you've got the data that backs up that you can pretty much win any race, even if it's on your worst day. And there's a very fine line that I don't want these viewers to get confused about, that, oh, he's arrogant or he's overconfident, because there's not. It's knowing that my hard work every single day, when I wake up at 5:45 or 6 or whatever it's going to be, and I spend 6 hours a day swimming, training, eating right things. It's a 365, not drinking on a beautiful day like this. I'm like, this is why I feel like I can do something, because the total discipline to do something like this. And you know, you've got to love it, because it will send you insane otherwise.
I think the funny thing is, you know, from my perspective is, you know, I think a lot of people, you know, you're the target. You know, you've dominated for so long, especially in that 100 metre breaststroke event. You know, you haven't lost it since 2014 in a long course, which is obviously the Olympics and World Championships and stuff. But I think it's funny when people, you know, kind of are quite vocal about, you know, making you the target and want to go after you, because, you know, for me as someone who, you know, is on part of the poolside team now and obviously a close friend, it's like, that's the worst thing you could do.
If someone knew me, it's literally the worst thing you can do is provoke me. You know, it's like prodding. It's prodding a lion. You know, you're going to get your head chopped off. So, chomped, never said that before. But the thing is, like, different athletes have different mindsets. If they have to talk to the media and say, hey, oh, I'm going to beat him or I'm going to kick his ass or whatever it's going to be, I'm like, fair enough. to be fair, like your attention's on me, so I don't care.
Yeah.
You know, it's your attention's not on yourself, so why would I even bother with that? You know, and there's that famous saying, you know, lions don't lose sleep over the opinions of sheep anyway.
Yeah.
So I think the thing that annoys me when people say that, they say it in such a manner that there's no respect.
Yeah.
I'm like, if I was a young tennis player and I said that about Federer, you're going to get chucked out. It's like, Federer's one of the nicest guys, I'm sure. He's classy and he's got respect. He's got heritage in the sport. He's proven time and time again that he's a classy winner and a champion. So there's a very fine thingy where you go, I'm going to kick his ass for entertainment, and there's a very fine line between there's no respect for that person who's done that. But to be fair, like, it just kicks me on even more. I enjoy it. But knowing that their attention is on me when really they think that it's the other way around is quite interesting.
Do you think that's based off them wanting to win, or do you think that's based off jealousy for how much you've won?
I mean, probably the same things, I guess. I think I can't really tell you because I've not really been in that. But I think obviously everyone wants to win. I think everyone who trains this much, you've got to have something that obviously you want to win. You don't train for second, right? So I think
for me it's just a very different when you were, you know, Cameron van der Berg, the fastest 100 breaststroker before you broke the world record. You know, that's a very respectful relationship for what I've seen. And
I've always respected Cameron, always, because I knew, and I always respected him in a sense that I knew he had speed. I always respected his speed, and I respected him as an athlete, his preparation. And when you lose that respect, you get beaten. And that's the beauty of sport, that you can have that respect, and as soon as you lose it, you know, you lose, and I'm like, fair enough. You know, that, you know, you've put me right. It's when people who have no real kind of caliber of that level that start throwing out kind of shots or whatever you want to call them. But I just find it, it's funny because you're going to have it, you know, it's going to happen now and it's going to happen 2 years in the future, it's going to happen 10 years in the future. But all I demand is respect for what I've tried to do in the sport, which is improve it for the people who are in the grassroots and make it more appealing and more cool, and, you know, try and, you know, put on a good show and show you where the human body can go.
So leading on from that, you've just mentioned about, you know, you're trying to really do the most you can for not just the sport but athletes and coaches and everything like that. Where's that passion for wanting to really get the most from the sport and for the athletes rather than just yourself? Where does that passion come from?
I think because I've seen it firsthand that a lot of athletes, not just in swimming, a lot of athletes are successful, and they're successful for a long time. And then you look at the kind of impact that they have in the community or the sport, and it's very little. I think we're here and you're successful for a reason, then why not to try and change it for the good or the better and try and involve more people through that mindset. I think sport for especially a young person is the most powerful and important thing a young person can do, because not does it only show you emotional control, which young people need more than ever, how to control their emotions, how to understand themselves instead of trying to understand others, which social media does. I think, you know, sport can teach discipline, you know, routine, rhythm, flow, teamwork, and that's why I'd always employ athletes if I had a business, because if you're looking at a young adult, you know, 20 years old, and, you know, they've done that for free, and a complete gamble of one day I might 10%, 20%, 30%, whatever it's going to be, might make the Olympics, that is the most valuable employee, because they're going to go above and beyond to, you know, make your business and their job the best they can do it.
Yeah, 100%. So you've been awarded an MBE, obviously from this country, but as we've already mentioned, you're a little bit of a veteran of the sport. Do you feel, you know, as you've mentioned, you're one of the few athletes that speaks out, but you're not just kind of becoming an ambassador for GB swimming, you're kind of becoming an ambassador for the whole of the sport of swimming. Do you feel like you're stepping into that role at all, or?
I don't think so. I think maybe externally I am. Internally, I'm not even trying to do that. I like to do as little as possible when I'm trying to race, because my focus has to be so channeled. But I think what I do, I just want to give, you know, the next generation and this generation just more just into the sport, and try and look after it the best I can, and teach that athletes can speak out if something's wrong. I don't want to see any sport in the next 30 years, absolutely, pulled down by doping and other issues and equality issues and stuff like that, when it should be about 8 people, or, in swimming specifically, 8 people racing to see who's the fastest.
Yeah.
Keep it simple. Stop trying to bring all this other stuff into it. And obviously someone at the top of the game, or the athletes at the top of that, have the most influence. So hopefully you'll start to see a lot more athletes say that's wrong. We need to do it this way and we need to do it right.
Yeah, definitely. So picking up on a point you mentioned earlier around, mental health and performance mindset and stuff like that, your biggest, strength that you often talk about is your mind and your process of your thought. But, from a personal perspective as a friend, we talk a lot around mental health and how that is, how it's so important in your well-being. So can you kind of give us a little bit of an insight into your relationship with mental health?
I mean, there's a few obviously issues in the last few months, I guess, that have kind of, crawled up on me, very quickly because of this issue or my nutrition or too much workload. And that's something I'll speak about at a later date because obviously I'm in the preparation to Olympics now. I think on the whole, though, there has been challenges. 2018 into 2019, there's parts of a career where you're like, what is my purpose? I think if you don't have a purpose and you lose that purpose, that's when sport becomes hard, or any job becomes hard, because it makes it 10 times harder to get up in the morning and go through that process of, starting the warm up and going through the rounds of it. But when mental health is concerned, everyone does view athletes as indestructible, or, people who are extremely, extremely, just focused and channeled and, bulletproof. But, athletes are just like any other person. You have, your rough feelings, you have down days, you have bad days, you have even worse days. But it's really how you pick yourself up and stay on that path, even when it's going to be the hardest battle of your life. For example, 2019 World Champs, I wasn't really feeling myself all through that preparation, all through that camp. Something was just missing, but then I can still break a world record because I'm so addicted to the process and channeling that energy. It's really, I think if you're feeling in that mindset where everything feels hopeless, it's not necessarily that you have to try and, defeat the demon. It's more about living with it and controlling it, and knowing where your kind of pushes and pulls are and knowing your boundaries. So I know now, as I'm older and wiser, what's going to push me over the limit in terms of rest, recovery, nutrition, sleep, and all these things obviously intertwine with my mental health. Yeah.
So, as we mentioned earlier, when you're in that constant pursuit of performance and it's faster and faster, and are you lifting more in the gym, are you swimming faster in training so you can be faster in the pool? Do you think there's a detriment to having that performance mindset? Do you see any negatives to it?
Of course, it's so unhealthy. It's so unhealthy. Because if you speak to any athlete, and I'm obviously going to go on this journey, but if you speak on an athlete who's retired, you will have constant issues, I'm pretty sure, with your body image, how much you should be eating, how much you should be sleeping, how much you should be working. Anything you've done as an athlete that you focused on, I'm pretty sure it's going to be an issue post-retirement. So I think, there's a lot of things around that. I'm waiting to see what, beauty comes my way. But after swimming, obviously, I want to enjoy it and, relax and, enjoy the fruits of my labour that I've worked so hard for.
Yeah. Do you think that when you do finish swimming, whatever that is, in 4, 8, 12 years or whatever it is, do you think that performance mindset will be in everything? Or do you think...
I'll have to channel it. Definitely have to channel it. And it's obviously taking advice from people who have been there and done that. But I know well enough that I'm not... after retirement, I'm not going to walk into a stadium with 20,000 people cheering my name or, cheering and roaring as I come down to the last 10 metres. You just don't get that down the job centre. So, it's... I think, for me, it'd be a bit weird if you did. But for me, I just want to do something that I have a passion for. That performance mindset will seep in. I know I'm addicted to hard work. I may not, have it in other areas right now because it's so addicted into my training, into my focus and my discipline in what I do every single day. But that will seep in to another area, whether it's you want to turn over this much, or you want to sell this much, or you want to do this much, or you want to make this much change, or you want to create a charity or a foundation which supports 1,000 kids a year or 10,000 kids a year. Wherever it's going to be, I'd always have a goal. I think if you have a goal, no matter how big it is, and you can break it down and work backwards from that goal, and set kind of pace markers along the way, I think my performance mindset will just take over. And obviously, there's going to be a lot of mistakes, but it's boring without mistakes.
Yeah. Do you? When you're in training, you've just talked about there a great example of 100, 1,000, 10,000, and more. When you're in training and you're doing a set and we've been in many sets where it's been, say 30 reps, for example, and it's, well, no, I'll go another one, and just keep going and going. How do you now, you're an older athlete now, you've got to be wise, you've got to be smart with your energy. How do you contain that complete desire to go more and more?
Get tired quicker. Don't want it anymore. Nah, on a serious listen, like some days I feel really, really good, but it's not about, doing that session really, really good anymore, or going 20 out of 10, one session and back down to a 4 out of 10. It's really just staying consistent. I want a 10 out of 10 every single session all week. So you don't get the highs, but then also you don't get the lows of those training sessions. You just stay middle ground, get that job done. Mel always puts it like you're in the trenches, sniper, just sniping off each kind of, process or training session. So I'm worried that, obviously that I can't really call it a limit. I do it when I'm cleaning or I'm doing something. I'm like, I need to do that. And then I get carried away and I'm like, hold on a minute, I've got to rest. Because I don't think you can be the best in the world at anything without enough gas in the car. And I think to be the best in the world, you need the rest and recovery. You need that time at home. You need, the facilities at the pool or facilities at home now. So I think, it's great to obviously, have that now. And I feel so much more refreshed knowing that I have that now. So again, it's all about your own wellness, isn't it? Yeah, definitely. So looking forward for the rest of the year, post-Tokyo, you're currently second in the running for winning BBC Sports Personality of the Year. Me and you have been plenty of times when we've been sitting in the rows going, oh yeah, not quite got into that top 3 or not quite won that award. But how do you feel about that, knowing that you're going? For some reason, I actually thought you would stay in the truth, and I was like, what is going on? I don't even know what's going on. But I mean, if that is the scenario, then happy days, innit? Yeah. I think I enjoy it no matter what. I enjoy that because you obviously get to see other sports people do what they do. But swimming has notoriously been underwhelmed and underserved in this country, or if not in the world now, for the last 10 years at least. So it'd be nice to have an opportunity for the respect of the sport, because of how hard it is to the average Joe, really. So it's, I just want to, put my country on the map, put myself on my map, and have a pint after. So I'm just honestly like a normal guy, and I'm very chilled, but I also love a scrap as well at the same time. Yeah, happy days. Right. Thank you very much, Adam. It's been awesome. Thank you. Cheers. Thank you very much for listening. If you're listening on an audio version or if you're watching this, please make sure you like, comment, and let us know, who do you want to see on a podcast and what kind of questions you want us to ask our performance guests.